Hi, I'm Angela Kelman, professional singer and vocal coach and author of the 5-Point Singing System. And today, the song that I'm going to help you map out and learn to sing is Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. So put me on pause and go print a lyric sheet and come back with a pencil and the lyric sheet, and then we're going to start mapping it out to make it easier for you to sing it. Okay, I'm assuming you're back by now because you just put me on pause. So yeah, very cool song. Of course, it's a guy singing it, so it's going to be in a little higher range for guys. If something is higher in your range, the general rule of thumb is that you're going to breathe a little bigger from your singer's breath, which is air in, tummy out, and you're going to pull a little harder with your diaphragm support. So because it's in a mid-range for me as a woman, I'm not going to have to work as hard, but if you're a guy, you might have to work a little harder, okay? So let's, first of all, the very first thing we do on any new song is mark where we are breathing. And this is a bit of a kooky breathing rhythm because I like the way he sometimes runs one line into the other for effect. And breathing it serves many purposes. First, for good pitch and for power when you need it, coupled with your diaphragm support. And secondly, you can really use the air to create emotional value, whether it be adding air to tone or running it a little longer or running two lines together to create an urgency or an angst kind of feeling. And of course, this song is kind of apocalyptic, I guess you would say. And so it has a lot of angst as an undercurrent in the emotion of the delivery. So I'll show you what I mean as we map out the lyrics. So take your pencil. I'm going to take a blue marker for me, and I use check marks wherever I need to breathe on my lyric sheet, and knowing where you are breathing during the course of a song will help you out immensely. I can't stress that enough. If you're just running blindly thinking you'll just breathe wherever you breathe, that's not the way to think about it when you're singing, because that will run you into trouble and you'll go flat and you won't have air when you need to use your diaphragm support to engage power. So strategic placement of the breaths is paramount when you're singing, and I'll show you why. So the very first, before we sing a note, we're going to take a breath here. Waking, let me see if I got the key right. Waking up. And now I would take a breath before two. To ash and dust, I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. So I took another breath before I wipe. I'm breathing in. I took a breath before I'm breathing in. The chemicals, and I took another one before the chemicals, okay? Let's review that. Follow the map, breathe. Now, one more thing I want to draw to your attention is that every breath doesn't have to be a maximum breath. So singer's breath is air in, tummy out. You don't have to maximize your air tank all the time. You can gauge by what range it's in, what range of your voice. Is it in your low notes? Then it's not going to be very air demanding. If it's in your mid-range notes, it's going to start to get air demanding sometimes. In your diva rock star, you're going to have to breathe a little bigger, and then in your mask area, the lighter, airier tonality, it's back to smaller breaths. But it also depends on how many words are in the phrase. So I'm waking up, 3 words in a phrase. I'm not going to take 100% of my air tank for 3 words in my mid-range. So I'm taking maybe a 30% breath. I'm waking up to ash and dust. I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in the chemicals, and you can kind of take a breath in for that chemical feeling, wrap it with a little air, and it gives it a little bit of color to stress your point. So we've just mapped out and followed the breaths in the first verse. Then the pre-chorus. Before I'm breathing in, I'm breathing in, shaping up. I would do shaping up because when you put breaths in a list of things, it really, enhances it and makes a point of it. Instead of just listing things and making them sound linear, you're putting almost punctuation in between each one like this. I'm breathing in, shaping up. It gives it a little more angst than if I just would go, I'm breathing in, shaping up. To me, that sounds just too flat and linear. Not flat pitch-wise, but just emotion-wise. And if you add that human breath, it gives it that human element, that emotional element, okay? Then checking out on the prison bus. Then checking out on the prison bus. So that's a fairly big breath because it's a longer line. So you're going to top up your breath, maybe a 60% breath of your air tank. Okay, this is it, the apocalypse. So you want to take another breath before the apocalypse to set it up with that kind of emotion instead of making it feel linear and run right through. And then let's just run this whole pattern again. I'm breathing in, shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. Whoa, and I took another breath before, whoa, and then I'm going to take a big breath here because I'm going to run it right into the first line of the chorus. Okay, so I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones, enough to make my systems blow. And then I took a breath before enough because you're going to have to reuptake some air there. You're running low by the time you hit here. Okay, welcome to the new age. Breathe before welcome. To the new age, breathe before to the new age. Welcome to the new age. And then again before this fourth, to the new age. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. We're going to take a big breath before the woes. Whoa, whoa, I'm radioactive, radioactive. Okay, so this is an interesting little pattern here. I'm going to breathe before the first set of woes. Whoa, you might want to take in more air for the second set. Let's just see without. Let's do it without. But I definitely want you to take a breath before the first radioactive and before the second radioactive. And there's a reason for that. And it's diaphragm support. Because those are diaphragm support demanding notes, general rule of thumb is always breathe as close to the big note as possible. And these are the big notes. So we want to fuel up our tank with air so that when the gas pedal of diaphragm support hits, we have fuel in our tank, right? Because if you were depleted in air, you'd go to engage your diaphragm support and there'd be no fuel. It wouldn't pop the note up to the right pitch with the right power that we need to do. So let's just take a breath. Whoa, 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 I'm radioactive, radioactive. And it gives it that sense of urgency again when you breathe before it. I'm radioactive, radioactive. It just gives it a human vibe and a real angst that we want to project into this song. So what I did was I did breathe before the second set of woes. It felt right to me. If you can get away with running on one breath a little longer and you don't feel like you're depleting or losing any punch, then do it. But for me, I'm going to have to top up here. Let's review that again. Whoa, whoa, I'm radioactive, radioactive. And then the second set, whoa, whoa, I'm radioactive, radioactive. That breathing rhythm feels natural to me, feels right to me. So that breathing rhythm is where you put your check marks. And every song has a unique breathing rhythm unto itself. So this one, that felt good for me. So let's review from the top. So I think you can see all my blue check marks. You should have check marks on your lyric sheet too. Here we go. I'm waking up to ash and dust. I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in the chemicals. And breathe. I'm breathing in, shaping up, then checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. Whoa, I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones, enough to make my systems blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Not sure you need that breath before the second welcome. See if it feels good or not. I had to rush it to get it in, so I'm thinking nuke it and just make this one before the first to the new age bigger. Let's try that section again. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Whoa, whoa, I'm radioactive, radioactive. Whoa, whoa, I'm radioactive, radioactive. That felt pretty good for me. And if something doesn't feel right for you, if you feel like you're struggling to get that breath in or whatever, just take a bigger breath at the breath mark before and maybe nuke them or lose them and see how it feels. Experiment with your breathing rhythm. There should be a natural one where it feels good to everybody, and I think I've got it here, but there might be one or two places that it doesn't feel right to you, so just adjust accordingly. I wanted to make one notation here. I took a really big breath before I'm waking up and ran right into the first line of the chorus. That's really important. It creates that angst, right? Well, that's cool. So we've got the first verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus all mapped out with breathing. Now let's go to step 2 or point 2 in my 5-point singing system, and that is diaphragm support, which works hand in hand with breathing, as I did a little explanation a few minutes ago. So when you're taking in air, that acts as fuel in your tank. Your diaphragm support are varying degrees of pulses or pulls toward your backbone. When you are in your low range, it doesn't require it's little to no pulls. By the time you hit your mid-range, you're starting to pull a little bit harder towards your backbone. By the time you hit the big rock star notes, you're taking big breaths, pulling with great purpose, and dropping your jaw, and you're getting these great big rock star notes that seem and feel to float really quite effortlessly because all the work is being done down here, right? So let me just reiterate a little bit too. Your low notes live and resonate in your chest. That's why I call it chest placement. And then the mid-range notes tend to resonate lower palate area. Your upper mid-range or diva rock star up here, they vibrate kind of under your nose, and that mask area, lighter, airier, more classical tonality buzzes in here. So that's why the diaphragm supports kind of change. And so low notes and chest placement, little to no diaphragm support. Mid-range, starting to pulse a little. Diva rock star, really big. This changes from a front to back pull to more of a plunge down kind of let go, just let it fall kind of feeling. That's how I differentiate the two styles of diaphragm support. So because again, I'm a girl and this is not really in my couple of notes. Radioactive starts getting up to my lower diva, so I got to work a little harder on those notes. So I'm going to show you what I mean. As a guy, if you're watching this tutorial, you might need to breathe a little bigger, pull a little harder, okay? So let's make sure I'm still in the same key. Waking up. So wake, for me, I do a little pull on way of waking. So I use a sideways V to note where diaphragm support is needed. And if it's a really big V, that usually means it's a great big pull. For this is me, in this range, it's about a moderate pull. I'm waking up to ash and dust. Ash is the same, little bit of a pull there. I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. That's pretty much the upper end of my chest voice for me, so I'm not working anything from my diaphragm. I'm breathing in, but that pops up into my mid-range, so I do a little pulse towards my backbone on breathe. I'm breathing in, and you see how I have to take that breath? The breath is really important. It's point 1, first step. Breathe, 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 and then point 2, diaphragm support. They have to work in that order or they won't work. I'm breathing in. Breathing in the chemicals. And again, that dropped into my low range again, so there's no diaphragm support going on the chemicals, okay? And then we go into the pre-chorus. I'm breathing in, so there's that same note, so I'm gonna pull a little bit. Shaping up, same thing on shaping up. Then checking out on the prison bus, and the melody descends, so I don't need any kind of diaphragm support. This is it. This, I have a little bit of a pull on. This is it. The apocalypse. Again, it goes down into my chest voice, so I'm not using any big diaphragm support. Breathing in, shaping up, checking out on the prison bus. This is it. The apocalypse. Whoa. So, whoa. Ever so slightly, just to get a little bit of punch. Whoa. But it's just tiny. I'm waking up, I feel, okay. So big pull. It's starting to inch up to my diva or boy rock star, right? So, whoa, I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones. I hit it on I, it's a big diaphragm support, and I kind of maintain it through feel. I feel it in my bones, enough to make my systems blow. So again, so I ran with no breath right into I feel. I pulled hard on I it in my bones, enough to make my systems blow. So I pulled on 2 and it kind of maintained through the rest of that line. Welcome to the, little bit of a pull on welcome. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. So both welcomes have a little bit of a pull off the top. And then in the back half of the chorus, whoa, oh. So again, I want to add a little bit of diaphragm support to add some body to the sound of that. It's more, the general rule of thumb, it can be broken for different reasons. If you wanted to add air on a lower note, you would use a little diaphragm support, which would force air out around your tone. Or if you want to put a little bit more body to the note, you can add a little bit of diaphragm support too, but it's really not diaphragm demanding. Whoa, oh, so it just kind of rounded out the tone. So, whoa, oh, whoa, I'm radioactive. So big pull on the front of radioactive. Radioactive, radioactive. And that is another reason why I add the breaths between the radioactives, because you need to, because both radioactives are popping up into this range, you need fuel in your tank to hit the gas pedal. Radioactive, radioactive, okay? And then it repeats, whoa, oh, so same little pull for body. Whoa, I'm radioactive, radioactive. Big pulls of your diaphragm support from the front to the backbone, and that'll pop you right into those higher notes with great pitch and power and attitude, okay? So we've mapped out breathing and diaphragm support for the first half of the song. Actually, most of the song, because all that's left is another verse and bridge. I wanted to just make one more comment. Diaphragm. Your diaphragm support refers to your diaphragm muscle, which separates our torso. So by manipulating it, it's kind of part of your abdominal wall system, I think. By manipulating your abs, I call it your diaphragm support, you're pulling it back towards your backbone. That's what I'm referring to as diaphragm support. It is when your diaphragm spasms, that's when you get the hiccups. So it's learning to use that muscle to pop that air into the right place for the notes. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to address in mapping out your lyrics is modifying your vowels. Now, modifying your vowels means changing the shape of your mouth to make it easier to sing. And this happens as we ascend in our range, especially. In our speaking voice, we don't have a lot of range in our speaking voice, although some people are more animated than others. But, you know, we kind of, it's not like when we're singing from our chest voice up to our head, our mask area. So the shape of our mouth has to conform as we start going up, because if I was going to say the word speak, and you can see the sides of my mouth pulls back, that would be too tight. If I was going to sing speak up there, it's just like, oh, tight all the way down, and I didn't hit the note because I tightened up. And so this is what we're doing here, bringing some attention to modifying the vowels where they get a little harder to sing up in our upper ranges, okay? So again, I'm going to check the key. I'm waking up to ash and dust. So one thing about modifying the vowels, it's just basically dropping your jaw. The general rule of thumb is drop your jaw to modify the vowel. And waking, way is a diphthong. And if you remember from grade 8 or 9 English, a diphthong is 2 vowel sounds in one. So we've got the A, only one vowel, but it has the A-king, waking. So you want to avoid bringing your jaw up on that second part of that vowel sound. So keep the jaw dropped. I'm waking up. See, I just kept it open, and that's modifying the vowel. So even in my mid-range here, where I pulled a little pulse, diaphragm pulse, I have to modify the vowel. And that is a really good indicator that you have to modify vowels whenever you have added a diaphragm pull, okay? So the little symbol I use for that, if you've seen any of my other tutorials, is a little half circle with an arrow. Okay, so half circle with an arrow. Waking up to ash and dust, I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. Wipe is another diphthong, but it's low enough that it didn't create any problems for me. But I'm going to, in case you're a boy, I'm going to just make that little note right there. Just in case it starts to inch up into your mid-range, you're going to have to drop your jaw. Wipe, wipe, not wipe, wipe. Think wipe, but you sing wipe. And it changes your mouth shape. I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in. Bree is a tight vowel. Bree. See how the sides of my mouth go back? And it's in a range where I needed a little diaphragm support, so that means drop the jaw. I'm breathing in. And I'm over-exaggerating to make the point. I don't actually say I'm breathing, right? I'm breathing in. Just a small jaw drop. Shaping up. Shaping up. You can drop your jaw on that. Don't bring the aping up. Shaping up. Then checking out on the prison bus. No big tightness in there. This is it. The apocalypse. That's pretty much all open. Whoa, I'm waking up. I feel. Okay, those two are tight. I and feel in that range get really tight. So typical for the word I, you just think AH. I feel it. And by the time you're closing down on the next word, it gives you that small E sound without being strained, without creating strain. Because if you go E, you can feel strain all the way down. And you don't want that as a singer. I feel it. And feel is very tight. And again, we're maintaining that diaphragm pulse, so we want to keep that vowel open. So we're going to put a little arrow over feel. I feel it in my bones. Okay, so by dropping your jaw even a couple of millimeters, that is going to lessen all the tension. And if you're breathing, because we know that we took a huge breath there so that we could run into that line, and we had a big diaphragm pull there, which means a big jaw drop. I feel it in my bones. My can be tight too, so you can modify that. My, think M-A-H, my, and it'll close with a little E sound before bones. So I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones. Great. And then enough to make, there's a little make, is that tight? Make my systems blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. Welcome to the new age, to the new age. There was nothing in those few lines that red flagged tight for me, so I just sang through them. Whoa, oh. Sometimes O's can be a bit tight, so you want to make sure that your jaw is slightly dropped on the inside, creating space on the inside of your mouth. Whoa, oh. You know, not too tight around the whoa. That'll create tension. Whoa, whoa, oh. So it's pretty open. Whoa, I'm radioactive. Now, ray can be a little bit tight. Radioactive. Again, it's a diphthong that you want to hang on the first part of the vowel. So I would think R-E-H, Canadian A. Radioactive, radioactive. And my mouth is not tight at all, and those notes are just floating out. So a little half circle on radioactive, radioactive. Whoa, oh, whoa, I'm radioactive, radioactive. Nice open jaw, okay? So there you go. There's the first part, the majority of the song mapped out. If you followed along and put the symbols on your lyric sheet. Now what you need to do when you're practicing this song is follow that map. And breathe where we decided where we're going to breathe, give or take one or two if it just doesn't feel right for you. Pull, those are really important. So make sure you're pulling, because if you're not giving diaphragm support where you need it, chances are you will sing the note flat, or you won't have enough power when you get there. And then, of course, drop your jaw on the tighter vowels, and that will just open it up. And the succession is breathe, pull, drop, and it floats. It sounds great. The pitch is great. The power is there if that's what you're going for. And but if one of those things are out of order or out of sync, then you will have some problems. So in the 5-point singing system, point 1 is breathing. Point 2 is diaphragm support, and those two things working together make point 3, and that is placement. And we talked about placements, chest placement for your low notes. Your mid-range notes are in full voice or speaking placement. Your big upper end of your full voice powerful notes are rock star diva. That's the placements I call it. And then the lighter area are in mask placement. Okay, so that's what I mean by point 3. Point 4 is vocal path. That is usually for people who strain a lot and their vocal path or the sound column that the notes come out on is tucked too far back in their head, so we have to do some adjusting to get them more forward. And there's some people who kind of go to some higher notes and sound like, hi ho, Kermit Frog here, where they way back too tight, lots of strain. So that's a vocal path thing, and that only affects I'd say maybe 20% of, in my world, 20% of my singers that I've worked with have had a vocal path issue. Normally vocal paths are a natural thing. And then 0.5 is vowel modification. So right now, and that is dropping your jaw to create tall open vowels, and that's what we've just done. And so the predominant points are 1 breathing, 2 diaphragm support, and 5 vowel modification. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this first page, and we're going to take the second page of this song. And now we'll just put this behind me for now. Okay, so verses are pretty straightforward, so let's take our blue for breathing. And you're going to breathe before I raise my flags, don my clothes. Took another breath before don my clothes. It's a revolution, I suppose. I ran that line on one breath because it was fairly low in my range. We're painted red to fit right in. And I would take a breath after red just to break up the linearness, is that a word? I don't know. The linear feeling of the line. We're painted red to fit right in. And if you take a breath, then you can get airy and get close to your mic and make it sound airy and intimate and kind of scary in this particular case. Whoa, and there we go again with a breath before whoa, and then we go back to whoa, I'm waking up, I feel it. Remember we ran those together. Whoa, I'm waking up, I feel it. Now there's another option. You can run whoa and I'm waking up together and breathe before I feel it in my bones. So try them both ways into the chorus and see what feels right for you. Okay, let's look at the bridge. All systems go. So we took a breath before all. The sun hasn't died. We took a breath before the sun. Deep in my bones. We took a breath before deep in my bones. Straight from inside. I'm waking up. I feel it. See? Yeah, we're getting good at running those lines together to create a little angst. So bridge, pretty straightforward. Again, review. Breathe before all systems go. Breathe, the sun hasn't died. Breathe, deep in my bones. Breathe, straight from inside. I'm waking up, I feel it in my bones. So there is a case where you want to do the alternate breathing rhythm that we just talked about before I talked about the bridge. So breathe right before the I, and I feel it in my bones in the chorus that comes right after the bridge, okay? So that's breathing rhythm for the second half of the song. Let's look at diaphragm support. Raise my flags, so I've got a little bit of a pull on that. Raise my flags, don my clothes, a little bit of a pull on that for me. It's a revolution, I suppose. I don't have any diaphragm demanding notes in that line. If you're a guy, you might. We're painted red, and there's painted as a little pull to fit right in, and nope, that drops into my chest voice, so there's no diaphragm demand. Whoa, little bit of a pull there just to create a little bit of body, okay? And then goes to the pre-chorus and chorus that we've already mapped out. Then we're looking at the diaphragm support in the bridge. All systems go. The sun hasn't died. For me, that's sitting quite low in my chest, so I'm not doing any diaphragm pulls there. Deep in my bones. Systems, all systems, tiny on there. Deep in my bones, straight from inside. Okay, so I only had 2 slight little pulls on all systems go. The sun hasn't died. Deep in my bones, little pull on my, straight from inside. I feel. Yeah, you know the rest because we've already worked it out. Okay, so that's good. Let's look at if we have any vowel modifications to make in this particular pass. I raise my flag, raise, I keep raise dropped, raise my flags, don my clothes, don, yeah, drop your jaw a little bit on don my clothes, it's a revolution, I suppose, there's an you don't want that diphthong, I suppose, just keep that nice and open, think AH, I suppose, we're painted red paint, there's a diphthong, you want to think open, drop jaw, painted red to fit right in, right, even though it's low, could be modified a little bit because that's super tight, again, a diphthong, right, see how my jaw comes up? When we're singing it, you want to keep that jaw open to fit right in, right? Whoa. And then, so we figured out the pre-chorus and chorus on the first page, and then all systems go, go. The sun hasn't died, sun. Yeah, I would do that little symbol of a half circle with an arrow on sun because that also reminds me not to close down on the consonant too soon. The sun hasn't died. You want to glide on your vowels a little longer sometimes to keep them nice and open and easier to sing. So sometimes that symbol reminds me to do that too. All systems go. The sun hasn't died. Died will need a little modification because it's two vowels, died. But there are two vowels in that one. So, but just remember, let that second one just glide. Sun hasn't died. Because the time you hit the D on the end, you'll hear the second vowel sound. Deep, deep's deep. See, you want to avoid that. Deep in my, so slight jaw drop. Deep in my bones, my too has tight, can be tight. Deep in my bones, straight, don't bring up the jaw, keep it open. Straight from inside, straight and eyed of inside. Ooh, lots of vowel modifications, even in a lower range here, because there are the E vowels and the IE vowels are the tightest and hardest to sing, and sometimes they will trip you up even in your lower registers. So modify, just slight drop will just alleviate all the tension and make them so much easier to sing, okay? So we have just mapped out the entire song of Radioactive by Imagine Dragons, and I guarantee if you follow the map, you will be able to rock this tune. And remember what I said about breathing in places and then adding a little air, like a little whispery tone for emotional or human effect or angst. You can create all of that stuff with breath. So have fun with it. And like I said, if you need to tweak the breathing rhythm to work for you, 95% of the time it usually fits everybody, but once in a while somebody just goes, that breath doesn't feel right there, so what's right for me sometimes may not be right for you, but 95% of the time it is. But anyway, if you have any songs that you would like me to map out in a video tutorial, email me at www.5pointsingingsystem.com and I will try really hard to get it done for you because I love doing this. And when you think about it, it's really quite straightforward in learning how to sing songs. When you're practicing, follow your map 5, 6, 7 times, then put it away, and your brain will remember how to do everything right. Okay, so until next time, happy singing and breathe a lot.